Will the rank and rent business model work in other countries besides the United States of America, or will it work in my country? Is what we want to talk about today. My name is Nick Wood. I am the king of digital real estate. I've been doing this for a long time, made a lot of money doing this business model, not from selling the program, but from doing the actual thing, which is building simple websites, ranking them on Google, taking the leads, and selling a business owner at least $1,000 per month or more, rinsing and repeating, and building out a portfolio of digital assets. It is an incredible business model. That is what we talk about on this channel. And I want to address the question of, will this work in my country? And I'm really excited because I'm going to share what my answer right now. But I'm also going to be testing this out over the next couple months. I am actually, if you haven't heard, I don't know where you've been, I am moving to West Africa, to a country called Sierra Leone. And I'm going to have the opportunity to test this business model in West Africa. Okay. Now, the short answer to the question is yes, it works in other countries. We've seen it work in Canada. We've seen it work in Australia. We've seen it work in Europe. We've seen it work in all these, I don't even know what we would classify those countries as, but I've seen it work in many, many countries. And I would relate it similar when people say, will this model work with this niche or that niche or my niche? The short answer is yes. But the second or the longer answer is how well, right? Because I've generated leads in crazy niches. I've generated them in golf lessons. I've generated them in solar. I've generated them in home security systems, right? I've generated them in some really cactus removal. However, how well it does in each niche, how I say it, depends. And so I'm going to say the same thing, that no matter what country you do this in, Google is Google. And you're going to be able to build a website, rank it on Google, and get phone calls, right? If you go into a country in Africa, let's say in West Africa, Sierra Leone, and you were to type in, or you were to try and rank a website for, let's say, roofing, Freetown, Sierra Leone. Okay, the capital city, big city, you're probably going to rank like that because your competition isn't much. But the other thing you have to consider is how many people are actually searching for that thing. Now, don't be confused with how much demand is there, because there's a lot of demand. People have houses, people live in houses, people need roofs done. But you have to look at your country or the country you're looking at targeting and go, how does this country operate, right? How long has the internet been established? How much do people use smartphones? When people need something, do they know a friend of a friend of a friend, or go ask their uncle or their grandpa or whatever, right? Is it one of those kind of a culture, or is it more of a US culture, a Canadian culture, a Australian, where it's like, hey, when I need something done, instead of bugging my neighbors, I'm just going to go to Google and type in roofer near me or roofing contractor near me. So this is my short answer is yes, of course it will work, and it will work anywhere. And if you're somebody that's sitting in Nigeria and you want to start building tiny websites and testing this out, you will rank, okay? You will get phone calls, but how many you're going to get and how willing the business owners are going to be to pay for them, that's going to be the unknown, right? And until we go into these countries, I'm never going to give you guys advice or try and say something that's as fact unless I've tried it firsthand. And to be candid with you, I have not. I know that my students have had tremendous success in Australia. I know my students have had tremendous success in Canada. I know my students have had tremendous success in Europe, obviously the US. But I don't know, if you were to ask me, how is this going to do in Ethiopia? I don't know. I can give you my opinion. I can give you what I think is going to happen. But my advice is this: don't be afraid to try it. And realize that it depends on the culture. It depends on how people search. It depends on how good the internet and how long it's been there and how much people rely on the internet. And it's fascinating because some of these countries, it's hey, grandpa, who do you know that does roofing? Well, I got a friend of a friend of a friend. You should call this guy. And you just go to his shop or you call him or whatever the case may be. And you don't really use the internet a lot, right? Whereas cultures like I live in here in the US right now, or cultures in Australia or Canada or whatever, we use the internet. We don't want to bug our neighbors. Everybody's busy. So the answer to this is yes. And I believe as time goes on, and that's what's so exciting about this entire business model, is every time we talk about saturation, we talk about, we haven't even touched the different niches. But the other thing we haven't even talked about is, there's countries out there that they're 10 years behind, 15 years behind where we're at. And so as people are starting to now be more reliant on the internet, and as people are starting to more rely on, okay, I need to find this service or that service, or now there's more discretionary income in this country, and now I can hire the house cleaner, or I can hire the tree removal guy or the roofer, and I don't have to do it myself. It's going to open up all these new avenues. We haven't even talked about other countries. And the reason this whole question spurred and why I want to address this is I am going to be moving to a country called Sierra Leone. It's on the west coast of Africa. I'm absolutely thrilled. My intuition tells me I'm going to build websites. They're going to rank really quickly because my competition is going to be almost nil. I'm going to be ranking against Facebook pages, and I'm going to rank quickly. And it's not going to be super difficult for me to rank. But I have a feeling that I'm not going to get a crazy amount of calls when you look at the population and you look at how much I should be getting and how much demand there is out on the streets, because it just hasn't caught up yet. But here's my play is I believe in this country long term. I believe that, and I know what's happened. I've seen over the last 10 years. Now you go over to this country where some things are so hard to get, like healthcare, but yet everyone has a smartphone. Everyone has Facebook. Everyone has access to internet and video streaming. And so for me, I'm looking at it like, okay, what if I could go and dominate all these other countries and have all these websites in place? Yes, I may be able to only break even or just have to do some kind of really small deal, a low per month deal. But what's going to happen in 5 years? What's going to happen in 3 years? What's going to happen in 2 years when those sites start to go off the rails? And all of a sudden, I'm dominating these local countries. And when I'm talking about the massive multi-million population cities, a Lagos, Nigeria. Can you imagine ranking for a roofing contractor in Lagos, Nigeria? I bet you right now, and I don't even know what the population is without looking up, but I believe it's multiple millions. That entire country has so many people in it. Okay. So to wrap up this entire conversation, will it work in other countries? Yes. Will it work in my country? Yes. How well will it work is going to depend on how the internet situation is, how long it's been there, and how that culture actually works, how they communicate, how they find services, and how much discretionary income do they actually have to spend on those services. But I know for me, I'm going to be testing this out in countries like Sierra Leone, in cities like Freetown, in countries like Ghana, in cities like Accra and Kumasi and Tema, and in countries like Liberia, in cities like Monrovia, right? I'm going to be testing these out, hedging my bet, because I can see that whatever's happening with us here in the United States or in Australia or in Europe, these countries and these other continents even are following, but they're just a little bit behind. In some cases, a lot behind. And so, guys, let's talk about saturation. We haven't even started talking about the opportunities that are going to be in other countries. So that is the answer to this question. I can't say 100% because I've never done it. But that is what my intuition tells me, and I'm interested and excited enough, and the upside is good enough that I'm going to be testing it out.